Most bike brands do not make bikes. Recalls are a good thing. And the differences between most bikes are pretty small. In this video, I'll talk about 5 things the bike business does not tell you about gravel bikes, or any bikes for that matter. To be clear, this is not a tin hat conspiracy video about like, they're out to get you, man. It's all a scam, man. Instead, these are just things that I've noticed over 25 years of covering bikes, and I want to share them for context if you're considering getting a new bike or just thinking about the bike that you already have. Ready? Let's dig in. Thing 1, the bike industry does not tell you, is that they are balancing trends with inventory management. Companies are surfing trends much like you and I. And like any business, of course, they want to sell stuff. So the trendier a bike is, the more likely it will sell. The more off-trend it is, the poorer sales will be. Some companies very much believe in the trends that they are riding or perhaps even leading. Others are just going along for the ride, saying that some companies are selling a lot of this, so hey, maybe we should get on that boat too. Gambling on trends can pay off big or blow up big. Think about aerogravel. Recently, Cervelo came out with the Aspero 5 going all in on aerodynamics. Is that a new trend or an old trend? I'm sure 3T is looking at that bike thinking, hey, we did the aerogravel thing 10 years ago with the Exploro. Sometimes trends just don't pay off though. You look at, say, Niner with the MCR, the Magic Carpet Ride, the full suspension gravel bike. Was that just ahead of its time, too far ahead, or was that just too much? In any event, these companies have to gamble about a year or so in advance because they're not making their bikes. Forecasting is a game of supply and demand, trying to envision what those trends are. We saw the bike industry blow up twice on this with COVID. Once by not having nearly enough bikes when they were suddenly in demand, and then after inventory caught up, the bike was just buried in inventory. Many parts of the bike industry still have overstock from that forecasting because of that long lead time, because the bike brands often don't make their own bikes. This leads us to thing 2 that the bike business does not tell you, which is where the bikes are made and by whom. Now, with very, very few exceptions, bike companies don't tell you in detail about who is making their bikes and where. Most of them are made in Asia because it's cheaper. Taiwan is the epicenter of high-end bike manufacturing, and there's many other countries that are doing production. Portugal is making bikes now for much of Europe. But in any event, most of the bike brands do not make their own bikes. Unless your name is Giant or Merida, you are contracting to another factory to make the frame sets, and then you're negotiating with bike parts brands, whether that's Shimano, SRAM, Campagnolo, to get the parts. You're negotiating with tire brands, cockpit parts, etc., and putting all the things together, and then you, the brand, are marketing the bike as a whole. But the bike brand itself is not making the bike itself. Now, there are some notable exceptions, of course. Time is making its own carbon bikes from the thread up. In Oregon, Argonaut is building carbon frame sets. And of course, there's a lot of boutique metal builders, but these are all very small scale compared to a Trek or a Specialized or a Cannondale. On the big scale, Merida makes its own bikes. It also makes bikes for Specialized, for which it owns 49% of that business. Giant makes its own bikes, and many of the bikes for brands like Trek and Scott. And some brands do a few of their line, quote, at home, such as the 3T Italia series. I've ridden their road bike and just did a review on the Race Max 2. But the bulk of the bikes out there are not made by the brands that are selling them. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, just like when you go to something like Trader Joe's and you see the Trader Joe's branded baked goods or canned goods. Those are not made in a Trader Joe's factory. Those are made by contractors that brand the stuff Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's, like Trek or Specialized, owns the end product and the interaction with you as a consumer. Thing number 3, the bike industry does not tell you. Recalls are a good thing. Let me explain my thing on this. Having a product that has failed to the point that a brand has to tell everyone, hey, be careful with this, please stop using it, send it back, we'll get you a new one, or we'll fix it, in and of itself is not a positive thing. Nobody likes to make mistakes, especially a mistake that could be dangerous and hurt and or kill somebody. However, Accountability is absolutely a good thing. And I appreciate the fact that brands do recalls. You've seen recalls from pretty much all the major brands that have been around for some time. Here in the US, it's the CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, that handles this. You go to the website, I'll put a link down below, and you'll see recalls from Trek, Giant, Specialized, Shimano, SRAM, et cetera, et cetera. This is always a somewhat embarrassing process for the company, but a positive thing for consumers. Think about discount products you could get from Alibaba or something like this. Have you ever seen them do a recall? No. You're getting a good deal and no safety guarantee. In the UK, brands work through the OPSS, and in the EU, it's SafetyGate. I don't know nearly as much about either one of those organizations, but I appreciate that there are, on the face of it, kind of boring governmental organizations doing boring but critical governmental work, which is helping brands take accountability for their product when things get sideways. Thing number 4, the bike industry does not tell you. Differences between gravel bikes is often pretty small. Once you get in a certain price bracket for a bike and within a certain use category, the differences are pretty small. That's not to say that bikes are identical. There are absolutely measurable differences in weight, in tire clearance, in aerodynamics, and some of the features from these bikes, but no one company has a monopoly on all the positive attributes of a bike. Sometimes a company will temporarily get out ahead. I think of like the Hammerhead Karoo, for instance, in the bike computer space, that temporarily had a big lead on one thing with the predictive climbing feature, which gave you a elevation profile when you were riding your bike and not following the route. That was a super cool thing. Now Garmin and then Wahoo have caught up and the features are similar. We see something similar in the gravel bike space. One company will push ahead, others will see that emerging as a trend and they'll jump on it. There are differences, but they're small. For Giant, I would love to be in the room when executives from Giant and Trek and Scott are negotiating who gets what features on bikes that are all coming out of the same Giant factories. But in no case could you take bikes of a similar price point that all have the same parts and go out and ride your local course, and one's going to be 10 minutes faster and one's 10 minutes slower. The differences just are not that big. Which leads us to the 5th and final thing that the bike industry does not tell you, which is you. You are the main thing. You make the difference. Whether you're looking to get better, fitter, faster, go practice. Practice bikes, and that will make the bigger difference of handling, of speed, of overall enjoyment over one bike's difference to the next. Now, that's not to say don't buy a bike by all means. I'm all about talking about bikes, about riding bikes. Cool bikes are great motivation. The new bike psych, that's a real thing. That adds 5 to 10 watts, allegedly. Bikes are marginal gains. You can be the maximal gain. So that's my 5th thing that the bike industry doesn't tell you. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments below. As always, appreciate you watching, appreciate you subscribing. And now I encourage you to shut this computer or TV or phone down and get out there and go enjoy the ride.